I always believed that my life was perfectly ordinary. A simple routine, predictable days, and relationships that were as steady as the tides. But sometimes, life, or perhaps fate, has other plans, throwing you into situations that make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. That's exactly what happened to me, and I still struggle to comprehend how I let it go so far. It all started during one of those endless family gatherings. The kind where everyone talks over each other, kids run wild, and there's never enough food to satisfy the crowd. My nephew Alex was there. He'd recently returned from university, taller than I remembered, with a newfound confidence that bordered on charm. He was no longer the shy boy I'd watched grow up. There was something different about him, something magnetic. At first, I brushed it off. After all, what could possibly be special about a family member you've known forever? But as the evening wore on, I caught myself noticing things I shouldn't have. The way he smiled, how his laughter carried through the room, and the way his eyes seemed to linger on mine a little too long. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it ignited something inside me, something I didn't want to acknowledge. Weeks passed, and I told myself it was nothing. I was imagining things. Surely I couldn't feel this way about Alex. It was ridiculous, inappropriate even. Yet, I couldn't deny the thrill that coursed through me when he sent a casual text or asked about my day. His messages were innocent enough, but there was an undertone, a hidden layer of meaning that made my heart race. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex called me. He needed advice, he said. Something about a complicated situation with a girl he liked. I didn't hesitate to invite him over, thinking nothing of it. When he arrived, he was nervous, fidgeting with his hands and avoiding eye contact. "What's wrong?" I asked, genuinely concerned. He hesitated, then looked up at me, his eyes filled with a vulnerability that took my breath away. "It's not about a girl," he admitted. "It's about you." Time seemed to stop. My mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, none of which made sense. Before I could respond, he continued. "I know it's wrong. I know how this sounds, but I can't help how I feel." His confession hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and threatening to burst. I should have ended it there. I should have laughed it off, scolded him, or done anything to defuse the situation. But instead, I found myself drawn to him, to his honesty, to the raw emotion in his voice. It was intoxicating, and for the first time, I felt seen in a way I hadn't in years. From that moment on, everything changed. Our conversations became deeper, more personal. We shared secrets, dreams, and fears that we'd never revealed to anyone else. There was an unspoken understanding between us, a connection that defied logic. I knew it was dangerous, but I couldn't bring myself to let go. One night, Alex invited me to a quiet spot by the lake. The moonlight danced on the water, casting an ethereal glow that made the moment feel surreal. We talked for hours, the lines between right and wrong blurring with every word. When he reached for my hand, I didn't pull away, and when he leaned in, his breath warm against my skin, I didn't stop him. The kiss was electric, sending shockwaves through my body. It was as if the world had tilted on its axis, leaving us suspended in a reality that belonged only to us. But as quickly as it began, reality came crashing back. I pulled away, my heart pounding. "This is a mistake," I whispered, more to myself than to him. "Is it?" he asked, his voice steady. "Or is it exactly what we both want?" His words lingered in my mind long after that night. I tried to push him away, to create distance between us, but it was futile. The pull was too strong, the feelings too intense. Every glance, every touch, every stolen moment felt like fire, consuming us both. As the days turned into weeks, the weight of our secret grew heavier. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, terrified that someone would find out, but at the same time, I couldn't imagine my life without Alex. He had become my escape, my solace, my addiction. The turning point came during another family gathering. Alex and I were careful to keep our distance, but the tension between us was palpable. I caught his eye across the room, and for a moment, everything else faded away. But then, my husband approached, breaking the spell. "What's going on with you two?" he asked, suspicion lacing his tone. Panic set in. I laughed it off, making some excuse about a harmless joke Alex had told earlier, but the damage was done. The cracks in our facade were beginning to show, and I knew it was only a matter of time before the truth came out. The final straw came when Alex confronted me, his frustration boiling over. "Why are we hiding?" he demanded. "Why can't we just be honest about how we feel?" "Because it's wrong," I replied, my voice shaking. "Because it'll destroy everything." "And what about us?" he countered. "Doesn't that matter?" I didn't have an answer. The truth was, I didn't know what mattered anymore. All I knew was that I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, unable to find my footing. The line between right and wrong had become so blurred that I could no longer see where it had been. In the end, I made a choice that would change everything. I told Alex we needed to stop, to put an end to whatever this was before it went any further. He was devastated, and so was I. But deep down, I knew it was the right thing to do. Or at least that's what I told myself. Even now, as I sit here, replaying every moment in my mind, I can't help but wonder. What if we had taken the risk? What if we had let our hidden feelings guide us, consequences be damned? Would we have found happiness, or would we have been consumed by the fire we'd ignited? I may never know the answer. But one thing is certain. Some feelings can't be erased, no matter how deeply they're buried. They linger, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the slightest spark to bring them roaring back to life.